So we're going to talk about the most popular eco-myths in the world at the moment. And if you know any other eco-myths, you're welcome to add in the chat. I'm really interested to hear what do you consider as eco-myth. So first of all, short presentation. I'm head of NGO Zero Waste Society, executive board member at Zero Waste Alliance Ukraine, member of Zero Waste Europe and Break Free from Plastic movement. And I'm a business sustainability consultant and eco-lecturer. And we will start right away because we don't have much time and there are many, many questions and myths to bust. First of all, when we talk about plastic, many people think that plastic is bad, or we have a feeling that it was made by some bad guys. Indeed, the problem is not in the material. Today we touch plastic items and plastic material even more often than we touch the people who we love, because it's everywhere. It's even everywhere in the environment. We can see it on the trees, in the streets. We can see huge landfills in rivers and oceans and plastic islands and everything. So let's just look a bit closer. What the material is, plastic. First of all, we can talk about the numbers, and we can say that worldwide, over 400 million tons of plastic is produced per year. And packaging, mostly single-use packaging, accounts for more than a third of all this plastic produced. The rest lasts a bit longer, like car, it's not thrown away when you receive it, like single-use plastic packaging does. So we throw out a third part of everything that we produce. Just think about it. We take a material, oil, for example, or gas, that has been forming for millions and millions of years in our earth. And we withdraw it from earth, and it's not a sustainable way of taking it. We pollute rivers and air, and people who live near these facilities, they also suffer. And then we produce items that we will use for a few minutes, and we put a lot, like hundreds of chemicals into these items, and we use it and then we throw it away. And after we throw it away, it still continues to pollute our environment and even to ruin our own health. So the truth is that not the plastic is bad, not the people who made plastic are bad, but single use is wrong. So we cannot use this material that lasts for 100 years. We cannot use it one time or just a few times. We can go to the next myth. If you have any questions or ideas about sorting or recycling, we're going to talk about it as well just a little bit later. So the second myth is taken from my own story, from my family, that if it was dangerous, they prohibit it. This is what my mother usually tells when she buys some toys to my daughter, who is 8 years old. And she says, if they sell it in the shop or in the market, it means that they have checked it. Someone must have checked it. But the truth is a little bit different. Any goods that you see on the market at the moment, they exist only until there is a demand. Because if you stop buying anything, then producers, business, they will start producing it because there is no need. They will not receive any profit. So they're producing everything what we see now only because we buy it. That's the only explanation. And a few examples for this. This is the most popular example. Why on earth does this exist? Really, this is paper full of toxic contaminants and these chemicals inside, and filters are made of more than 1,200 plastic, microplastic fabric, which when it gets into environment, it directly becomes microplastic pollution. It doesn't even need a few hundred years to get decomposed. It's direct environment pollution right away. Also, it harms our health and it's everywhere. Why on earth does this exist? The answer is very simple. Only because people buy it, there are customers, there's market for this, and this is the only explanation. And let's get to another example, which is again from my life. You see these toys that people sell in the market and companies still produce. To make one teddy bear nowadays, we need about 300 grams of pure oil and then hundreds and hundreds of different chemicals. The same with the rubber duck. They are not made of natural rubber anymore, and teddy bears are not made of cotton anymore as it was before. Now they make it from oil and gas and chemicals. And these small particles, microfibers, they're flying everywhere in the room. And when kids are playing with this, they're harming their health. And we as parents or relatives, I don't know, we are also harming our kids when we buy those stuff. So how to stop this? Just we need to stop buying these things. We need to vote with our own wallet, and then companies will stop producing this stuff. Let's go to another one. Myth number 3. Corporations take care of all of us. They really do. This is why they exist on this market. But I have a few examples for you. I will not name the company, of course. I will just say that there is one company that promised last year to reduce their usage of crude oil for 1,600 tons per year, which sounds like a great commitment. But if we look into a bigger picture, we will see that they use per year 3 million tons of oil for their produce, which means that their great commitment indeed is not, because last year they have used 2,984 tons of oil to make single-use plastic packaging that we have used with you. I mean, doesn't mean you directly, us as consumers, as people. And if we look into the numbers, this company is producing, just try to imagine this number because it's really hard, 167,000 bottles per minute, like every minute, which means that per year it produces so many bottles that you can make your way to the moon and back 31 times. This is like the biggest producer of plastic bottles in the world. Of course, you guessed probably that the name of the company is Coca-Cola, and it's everywhere in the world. And actually the solution for this problem exists already, and we will come to it very soon. And just one more story to explain about Coca-Cola and other companies, other big companies, how to work with them and do they really care about us. We are making this kind of, cleanups that don't have the main aim to clean the territory, but they have a main aim to understand who are the main polluters. Maybe you have heard about this brand audits. If someone has heard about it, would be great to find out in the chat. They're all over the world. Like people from almost all the countries in the world take part in this in September. And you go out, you clean some territory, and then you understand which company has polluted your territory the most. This helps us to understand that corporations don't really take care about us and our health. Indeed, they take care only of their profit. What we can do as consumers, we can and we should vote with our own wallet. We should help these companies to understand that we care and we know the solution. The solution should be reusable, not single use, and this will help a lot. The fourth myth is about recycling. When I say that I work with waste problems or even more zero waste, usually I hear, oh, I'm separating my waste as well, or I'm recycling as well. This is great, this is good, but it's not the solution. It's not the only solution, let's say like that. Why? Let's look at the statistics. For today, we know that only 9% of the world's waste was recycled at least once, even though we have countries like the US, developed countries of the European Union, Japan and Sweden, and everyone says that, look, they're recycling so good, we should build the same infrastructure and then we will also have this great recycling system. But if we look into statistics, we will see the truth that something is wrong in this system. If only 9% of all the plastic was recycled, we are talking about the plastic at the moment because this is the most problematic kind of waste, and 12% was incinerated, which is a problem itself as well, and it is concerned with the next myth. And about 80% of waste is somewhere in the environment. It's in the landfills, in the rivers, or forests, everywhere. So what's the problem with the recycling? I like this picture from Patagonia website. I guess you know this Patagonia company that's producing sportswear, also sportswear and other stuff. And they have worked, they were trying to work out what to do with the waste that they produce, because they have a lot of garments that people can send them back to get fixed or to get resold through their platform so that they don't produce waste, you know. And they understood that it's not possible to recycle some items, and incineration is also not an option. So they have created this image to explain people that if it says, if it has like a triangular on the packaging, it doesn't mean that everything is recyclable and will be recycled. So this is the ideal picture, how we wish that recycling would happen every time we see the bin, we throw our recycling destined object there, and then the recycling magic should happen, and then we will get more recycled goods. But indeed, it doesn't work like that. And there are many reasons for that. First of all, it should be economically viable to recycle, which means that at the moment, indeed, it's not. Like, it's cheaper to buy oil and gas and put a lot of chemicals in it and produce new goods than to buy recycled plastic and produce something from it. This is the first reason. And the second reason is that even if we would have, if it would be economically viable, we produce so much waste that it's impossible in our world to build so much infrastructure to recycle everything. We just use too much plastic. We use too much packaging. So the solution to this problem, even if we sort everything out, you know, the solution would be just to stop producing so much waste, stop producing so much plastic and so much single-use packaging as well. And what we can do instead, maybe you have heard about it, I guess you have, about zero waste, which is a solution. If we're talking about your personal level, what you can do, you as a person, then there is a zero waste philosophy and 5R, which is based on refusing on the first place. Just don't buy so much. Reducing, buy less or consume less water, energy, resources, everything. Reusing everything that you have, as much as you have, repairing stuff, using reusable bottles, reusable bags and everything. Recycle is on the first place. So it is important to recycle what we have, but we cannot recycle everything. It is not designed to be recycled. Many goods are just designed in a wrong way. And rot, which means composting your organic, like food leftovers. You can create a great fertilizer if you compost your food, and you will not send it to the landfill, which is a good thing as well. And just a few words, if you are not a consumer only, if you're looking about like a global solution, then zero waste is good for a global solution as well. There is a zero waste hierarchy accepted on a state level, in European Union, and it can be used also for cities. So it is used everywhere. It is a great solution indeed. So let's go to the next myth. Sweden ran out of its waste completely. I hear it a lot because we had a lot of media coverage about how they deal with their waste and how they have zero in the landfill, zero waste in landfills. Indeed, Sweden has 32 waste incineration plants, which may sound good for people who think that waste incineration is a good thing. You can create energy in the process, which is great. You can even import waste from other countries and you can incinerate them as well. But there are a few problems connected with waste incineration, which media doesn't cover so much. And one of them is that by incinerating waste, you don't make it disappear. You just make it smaller, like from 4 tons of waste, you can create 1 ton of highly toxic ash, which you have to do something with. In Sweden, for example, they can put it in concrete and then send it to the old mining coaling mines. Oh God. You know what I mean? Like they don't send 0% to the landfill. They still send something to the environment and to the landfill. They do recycle something, but they waste too much resources. And this is not the only problem. Also, waste incineration is influencing climate change a lot. And also, there is no filters in the world that will protect you from dioxins and metals and all these compounds that we breathe from air. So waste incineration is really dangerous. And you can read about this in the latest reports that are existing now in the world. And one more thing about zero to landfill. You know, this recycling programs or incineration programs, they still don't work so good. This picture shows us how developed countries and other countries were sending their waste that was destined to recycling to China. From 1970s, China was accepting importing waste from all over the world because they needed some material to produce their goods, and they didn't have enough. So for these developed countries like the UK, the United States, Germany, Japan, Australia, Canada, all these countries, they are top waste exporters. They were sending their waste to China to be recycled, but indeed not all of this was recycled. I can hear there is some question, or Ksenia?
No, we have no question.
Oh, I thought I heard something. Good. So well, even people who live in their countries, they were thinking that they're sending their waste to recycling, but indeed it was sent to China. 3 years ago, China has closed its doors, and all these countries, they started to send their waste to other countries of Southeastern Asia, like Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, and to Africa. Which means that these countries are now polluted, like over-polluted with waste of developed countries that cannot even be recycled. This is how it looks. It usually comes in containers like this, and it is filled with scrap, usually, that doesn't have any value. Sometimes it can be PET bottle, but usually it's like single-use diapers, you know, from kids, which cannot be recycled. Or something very polluted, or plastic bags, mixed waste, you know. So these countries, they are just throwing it to the rivers or burning it because they don't have facilities to recycle it, like no one does. This is how the magic of recycling works indeed. I mean, doesn't work indeed. And just one more thing to say about it is that the waste export may not sound so awful, but people who live in their countries, they do suffer a lot because they don't have clean air or water anymore. And people who live in the developed countries, they see more and more media coverage about this problem. And they understand now that recycling doesn't work. And this is why they switch to reuse systems and zero waste lifestyle. You can read more about this on internet, or if you're searching for information, you can always write to me. I will send you the reports or news about it. And just to show you how the landfills look like, they're everywhere the same, you know. This landfill is not far from my home. It's like 50 kilometers, probably, even less, like 35 kilometers from my home. And it's huge. It's like 30-story building, and the volume of it is 87 football fields. So it's a huge landfill. And there are landfills like this all over our country, Ukraine. There's like 6,000 official landfills and more than 30 unofficial. And this story is everywhere in the world. Wherever you come from, if you don't have enough waste incineration infrastructure, you will have more landfills. But it's a big question, what is worse, you know? So let's go to something more fun and positive. If you're not tired of problem, waste, and these pictures of people suffering. So the next myth, bowl with quinoa and avocado will save the world. Let's just imagine that you're trying to reduce your own environmental footprint, and you want to produce less waste, and you went to zero waste lifestyle, and you're using everything reusable, and you're not using car, for example, you bike a lot, and then you went vegetarian or vegan, and you're trying to eat ecologically sustainable food. But the thing is that avocado, quinoa, and stuff like that is not locally, seasonally grown, may also have a great impact. There's such a thing that's called food democracy. I don't know if you have watched now on Netflix, these movies there, you can watch them freely, and probably some of you have already. It's a right of people who live on a definite territory to eat their own food, their local food. For example, because all the world wants avocado and other unseasonal, unlocal stuff, people who were consuming this avocado and growing it for their own produce and their own families, they cannot allow to have these avocados now because they're too expensive for them. Even worse, resources are used. A lot of resources are used to grow these avocados. For example, they cut off, as you see on pictures, huge amounts of trees, like huge forests. To grow one monoculture, they use lots of pesticides, which pollute air and soil and water. And they use a lot of water, which means that people who live there, they will have lack of all these resources. And also they will have polluted environment, and they will not be able to eat their own food, which they have been eating for centuries. So what I'm trying to say, that I'm not saying don't eat anything that is not seasonal or local. Just when it's possible, you can research and try to find something that your country, your nation has already. For example, in Ukraine, we have, in English, it will sound like flax seeds, lyon, which is actually great. It's the same as chia. They're consumptional. Well, it has almost the same nutritional value as chia. As for buckwheat, it's almost the same as quinoa, almost the same microelements and stuff. Облепиха, which is sea buckthorn. I haven't learned that still. It's almost the same as goji. So wherever you live, there should be always something that is really high nutritious value and that is more local, more seasonal. And by buying it, consuming it, you're even supporting the people that live there. You're supporting the local people, local economy, and also you're helping people who are living somewhere over the ocean not to lose their environment and their health, and to have their right to eat their food. So when possible, just try to research and find some local alternative. We are coming to the 7th myth, and I want to ask Ksenia if there is anything interesting in the chat, because I cannot see it, unfortunately.
We don't have questions in chat, but colleagues, if you want to ask something, you can unmute your microphone and ask a question if you want. I think we have no questions, Anastasia.
Okay, great. Then we will continue. We have done half already. So myth number 7.
Anastasia, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. We have one question in chat right now. Could you recommend some books about zero waste philosophy?
Sure. In English?
Yes, in English. Or
yes.
if maybe Anastasia. Yes, in English if you want, if you can.
I can say one that is like a Bible. It's Bea Johnson's book, Zero Waste Home. It's translated into like 25 languages already, all over the world, even Ukrainian as well. And this is the one that is a must read about zero waste. But there are many others as well about plastic and for kids and adults. But if you want to read something one and the best, then this is the one I will recommend. Zero Waste Home, Bea Johnson.
Anastasia,
yes.
Book looks like, if you see it, no.
No, I don't see anything.
One moment. Maybe.
I just see my screen. That's Teams. I don't even see myself, you know.
Okay. Oh, book looks like this. This is for Anastasia, who asked the question.
Not me.
Bea Johnson. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, you can ask questions more if you have them, and I will continue answering, or we can answer at the end if it's more suitable for you. So we have made a middle. Now, myth number 7: plastic degrades 400 years. And let's talk about this. The thing is that plastic degrades all the time, and it depends on the environment where it exists. For example, if it's somewhere in the landfill that is burning, then it will degrade into this produce that it was made of, and connecting with other, like one chemicals are connecting with another chemicals, producing these highly toxic dioxins and other compounds that we're breathing. And if it's somewhere in the ocean, then it's depending on the type of plastic, it's degrading with time. For example, in salty ocean water, it's degrading quite fast, but there is fishes that are eating it. You have heard about it, I'm sure, 100 times. That means that it will circulate from small creatures to fish, from fish to our table, to our bodies, to water, to, you know, it's like this circulation. It's hard to say exactly, like it doesn't degrade just staying on one place, you know, it's moving all the time and moving in our bodies as well. I can tell you that for 1 year, I have found 3 times pieces like 1 centime in my food, and it was twice in a restaurant, which means that we are really consuming plastics all the time. These are only the moments that I have noticed plastics on my plate. But there are so many moments that we don't notice it, and it can be nanoparticles, microparticles, and particles that we are breathing, especially if you're using a lot of synthetic clothes and textiles in your home. Let's go to the 8th myth, the trash aisles. And I will explain why I'm calling this myth. Because you probably know these numbers, that every minute we throw away about 1 track of plastic waste to the ocean, which means that if we have been here for half an hour, there has been 30 huge trucks of waste sent to the ocean. But ocean is somewhere far away, is it? It's not like close at our window. But let's just look at the trash aisles issue. Do you know what the flag is? Obviously, I cannot see the chat, but I will help you. This flag is an official flag of the trash aisles country. I'm not sure if you have heard about this country, but this is its flag. And this is the passport of the citizen of the trash aisles. I like the pictures. You see the turtle and all these animals trapped in plastic. The ocean needs us. And these are the money of the trash aisles monarchy. They have chosen their form of ruling as a monarchy. They even have a monarch. So this is the picture that we see often in media, if you have come up with it. There is 5 big trash aisles or jars that are size of France or whatever, but indeed the picture looks a bit different. What we see is like this. So it's not an island, like, you know, doesn't grow up as a mountain from water. Indeed, it's more like a plastic soup, which means that all the plastics being in the water, in the salty water, under the sun, it's ruining to the microplastics particles, as we have find out already. And it's in the first 10 meters of water. The most part of it stays there. But also there is types of plastics that go down directly to the bottom and swim in the middle, you know, this small little tiny particles. So this is about the plastic aisles in the ocean. But also if you live not far from the Black Sea, for example, Black Sea is internationally recognized as the most polluted sea in the world. There is over 400 trash aisles in the Black Sea. So if we're talking about the plastic island that's somewhere in the ocean, it's not about somewhere far away. It's actually really behind our door. It's everywhere in the rivers and everywhere, even in our own seas. And one more thing I want to say is about the soil pollution. The thing is that we don't really talk about soil. And we don't really talk about air so much, only when we can feel that it's polluted. But the soil is polluted much more than water in the world. It can be polluted up to 20 times more with microplastics. It is just a thing to think about. Maybe you didn't want to know about it, but now you do. And if you want to find out more, you can ask me or read on the internet about it. So let's go to something more positive and interesting. Paper bag is more ecological or more sustainable. I can hear about it a lot. Also, when we work with supermarkets, retailers, they think that if they switch to the paper bag, but it has to have some plastic window, because they need to know what you are carrying, then it will be more sustainable. But indeed, it's not, because producing paper, there's a few reasons for that. Producing paper takes a lot of resources, a lot of energy, a lot of water. And there is one very important thing. Plastic is not bad because it's single use. Plastic is very harmful and bad because, I mean, not only because it's single use, because it contains hundreds and hundreds of different chemicals and plasticizers and many things, additives that we don't even imagine how they will influence our bodies, because there is no enough research. Companies are free to put almost any chemical they want in the market to their plastic products, just to give them some definite properties. And to prohibit some chemicals from being added, there needs to be a lot of research done, and you need to connect this chemical with these diseases that cause it in years, you know, so it will take years to understand this. So the thing is that if plastic additives are slowly are being restricted, chemicals that are added to paper are not restricted yet. Even in the European Union, they're saying that, unfortunately, paper chemicals are, like, there are many chemicals that are being added, and if we think that we put something in paper and it's more safe, it's not. And maybe you have heard about Coca-Cola trying its paper bottle in Hungary. This is how it looks like, Ades. The thing is that if it was paper, you probably know that it will let the water go through it. So obviously there is something in this paper. It may be as simple as polyethylene, very slim polyethylene, like in these paper cups, you know. But it can also be something more strong and more harmful, like fast chemicals. If you have watched Dark Waters movie, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, you can put it in your list. Dark Waters. It's a movie that came out 1 year ago, 1.5, and it's a good one, really, to see and to understand what's happening in the world. So, paper bottle obviously has something in it that it doesn't let the water go through. Unfortunately, Coca-Cola didn't say what they put. They're saying that this is a commercial secret. But for example, myself, I wouldn't want to buy something that I don't know what it's made of. Unfortunately, lots of goods in the market are made exactly like this. And one more thing about paper. Yeah?
I'm sorry for interrupting you. We have some questions from chat.
Yeah.
Is there any way to utilize rubber? Unfortunately, I can't refuse it. I have a bicycle and sometimes I have to change the tire on the wheel. Also, it may be interesting for drivers who have a car.
We have been discussing this last week in Plastic and Health call of Breakthrough from Plastic movement, that pollution from car tires is really, really high. It's like 30% of all the microplastic pollution comes from car tires and obviously bicycle tires. And as cars get more heavy, then there is more microplastic pollution as well. The thing is that these companies like Michelin and others that are producing tires, there is only, as I remember, 10 companies like this in the world. They're like huge producers. They are not interested in investing into solutions because they're interested in selling their tires more and more, you know. This is why the technology exists. There is a technology how to make these tires durable, but they're not interested in it because they want to earn money and they want you to buy new and new tires. So if you want to read more about this, you can search on internet or you can write me later. I will find some information for you. You should, yeah?
You can tell. I'm sorry for interrupting.
You can try to search some kind of sustainable producers. If they're like, it's really hard for them to appear because as soon as something like this appears, big companies are trying to buy this solution and not to let it into the market because it will take their profit. But I have heard already that these companies are trying to open and appear.
Thank you, Anastasia. We have one more question. How do you think? What is the first step to help our planet?
I have an answer, just like in 5 minutes. We will come back to this question. Okay.
So the next question is, what people can do to reduce influence of rubber to the environment?
Over rubber?
Yes.
I guess we are talking about car tires again. Yeah. So this is the question that I have covered already. Like, there's business that is not interested, but as consumers, what you can do is what your question is. You can tell these companies that you care. This can be an email. This can be a Facebook post. This can be trying to research and find some other solution. Like these companies, they have to have some push from society to change. because they will tell you that they have invested into recycling plants, but it doesn't mean anything really. You cannot recycle as many tires, and you cannot capture this microplastic pollution. This is the problem. So what you can do is a small thing, but it's very important. You can help create push. Try to tell people about this problem and try just to push these companies, tag them, write email. This is what you can do.
Thank you. The next question is there anything effective being done on global government level, like maximum ban on plastic, not produced according to certain standards? Why there is no control over plastic or paper production? As much as I love the idea of our wallets being the final decision makers, I'm afraid it is not nearly enough. We have to buy stuff with plastic when there is no other option in supermarkets or markets. And not everyone is an angel. We humans are lazy and want comfort.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's true. We really want comfort, especially after we have received a piece of this comfort. Now it's hard for us to refuse this single use, because before we were very great. We had a great life with the milkman style, reusable goods. And now we are used to single use, and it's harder for us to refuse. As you said, people are lazy. That's the truth. Again, what we can do, we can create a push from a society. Government is not interested to ban something that people don't want. For example, even if there is a politician who has enough will, but he sees no pressure from society to take this unpopular decision, for example, to ban all the plastic bags. If people don't want it, then he will not be a popular politician, let's say like that, if he takes this ban. But if there is a push from a society, then he will be a good man, and he will do a good thing. So as consumers, what we can do, we can create this push from society for all the changes that we want. Talk about it, write about it, read about it, but try to find a real solution. Like, don't talk only about recycling. Talk about the full bans, reuse systems, and so on.
Thank you, Anastasia. We have no question right now in the chat, so you can proceed with your presentation. Thank you.
Ksenia, can you help me with the time, please? Do we have like 5 minutes left?
Yes, we have. I think we have 5-10 minutes for presentation and questions. Don't worry.
Okay, then I will be a little bit more faster. So paper, let's continue. Bioplastics. It also always, very often, I can see it being presented as a solution. For example, if we replace this oil or gas with maize, it will change a lot. But indeed, the thing is that bioplastic sometimes is even worse, because to check something what is more sustainable, you need to compare all the life cycle. For example, if they produce it, there is fossil-based bioplastic and there is bio-based bioplastic. It can be non-biodegradable and biodegradable. And if it's biodegradable, it doesn't mean that it is bio-based. And if it's bio-based, it doesn't mean that it is biodegradable, which makes it even more complicated. And even if it is bio-based and biodegradable, for example, PLA, there is information that PLA sometimes consists of fast chemicals, which is bad for our own health. Also, if you create compost from this kind of plastic, if it's bio-based, it's destined to the earth, for example, then this compost will consist of these chemicals as well. And also it has a huge environmental footprint. To produce this bioplastic, you need to make it short. It's much worse than plastic. If you, I need to go faster. This is why I will move from this point. What can be more ecological or more sustainable? It can be only reusable. It can be a reusable bag, but not only. It can be reusable packages to send your post. It can be reusable cups, reusable delivery services, and so on. And this all exists already in the world, and it's developing. And the one in the corner, in the left down corner, it's a Ukrainian business that is using reusable glass jars to send food to the offices. this is a delivery system, just to show that it's not only somewhere very far in the US or European Union, it's like everywhere already. And one more myth is about discounts and cheap clothes. To make it short, sometimes when we want to buy something, now sitting at home in lockdowns, even checking on internet, it looks so simple. You just look at something, order something, and then it comes to your house and you can wear it or not. But the system is a bit more complicated. Sometimes we don't know who have made our clothes, and this is a very important part. For example, I want you to meet one woman, one nice woman. Her name is Aya, and she knows all the best fashion trends of 2020 and 2021, even now, by the color of the river where she lives, because where this produce happens, usually these people, they don't get enough money. They may not see their own kids, and it's not like a horror story or something. It's the truth. It's a cheap produce, and they're using this labor force which is not in the right conditions. And why it's happening? Only because we're buying these clothes. So when possible, please try to buy only clothes that are sustainable, that you know who produced your clothes. And this is about like the ethical side of the people who make our clothes. And what about the environmental side is that you probably have heard already that one jeans is almost 8 tons of water, and one t-shirt is like 2.5 tons of water. It's water that we use to grow cotton, and then we need to color it, usually with chemical dyes that goes into the rivers and then touches our bodies, So this is a complicated question to talk about, but just try to choose more sustainable when you buy. And almost the last one, and this is replying to one of the questions. We need to save the planet. And I'm calling this a myth. Why? Because planet actually have exist before the people in a good way. It maybe even better when people were not there. And sometimes we say we need to save ecology or help ecology, but ecology is a science. Planet is an astronomical object. It doesn't need our help. The thing is that we need to save ourselves. We are in a big trouble right now. The way that we are producing goods, the way that we are consuming goods are making us sick. It's making our health bad. It's making the environmental harmful for us. The planet will exist, really, just we need to help ourselves now. And the last one, the last myth, and the main one probably, is that one person cannot change anything. This is a reply to the question, what should we start with? Indeed, I just want to show you one controversial example, but I think it's a good one. This is a girl who is 15 years old, and it was in August 2019. No one knew her. And then just in 1 year, she managed to take 4 million people to the global climate strike. And the thing is, not that she is that great person who has changed everything. The thing is that all these 3,999,000 people, they are all heroes, like all of them, each of you, if you were there as well, I was there. You are all the heroes and you make difference. If all of these people have said, oh, it's okay, there is 1,000 people out there, I don't need to go out, then no one would go out, then she would stay alone. So if you want to create change, if you really want to do something, then you need to understand that you are the one who creates change. There is no one else who can do that. I mean, you are that person who is really creating change, and you do have power to make that. So just go ahead, find something that's important for you, find something to start with, and just do it. Just find people who are also caring about that and start with small steps. And this is how you can create change.